Hey Tigress, hey Tiger. I would like to share a little bit around the topic of flow, how we can live in the flow or in the zone in this episode, because I think it's super interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most people that I meet are super interested in living as much as they can in a state of flow and not so much in the state of stress or burnout or functioning or rigidity. So how do we do that? There is something crucial, I think, or essential when it comes to flow that I see being misunderstood in many situations in our culture. And that is the concept of surrender or the concept of flow being confused or mixed up with a kind of problematic energetic state of collapse. So we say that for living, if you want to live in the flow or in the zone, you have to surrender to the very moment, to the energy of the moment. And that's definitely true. But surrendering or listening to the energy of the moment is not at all a weak inner state of your nervous system. It's not at all something where you perceive yourself only as passive. It can be quite the opposite, really jumping into the waves, into the wild, the intense energies of the moment that you have been missing before. So what I want to boil that down to is the pattern of collapse that I think all of us learn as part of our cultural upbringing or cultural conditioning. In fact, I would say everybody who is kind of conditioned or has been brought up in a Western culture or civilization, everybody's experience or nervous system is kind of based on collapse because we live so domesticated and we live on such a lower energy level than the energy level we would be living on and would be living in if we would have been brought up in a healthier and more alive culture. So civilization is basically based on collective epidemic energetic depression. So, oh my God, that's the downside of this episode, facing where the problem is located. And I think there is a problem located in our nervous system that we can describe as collapse and that we can experience as numbness or missing aliveness, missing juice, missing intensity in our life. So by re-embodying ourselves, by resensitizing ourselves, we step by step can overcome those inner layers of collapse, of weakness, of passivity that isn't about receptivity, but is rather about ignorance or is rather about numbness and dissociation from the very moment. So when we overcome this by re-embodying ourselves and reclaiming our inner energy and aliveness, then we get that a lot of our concepts around surrender or flow have been misunderstood in our past because we were so confused around what is passive in a good way, what is passive in an energetic way, in an alive way, and what is passive in a way where I just feel beaten up by life and I gave up to try to get my needs met. So what this comes down to is that when you are interested in living in a state of flow, it's crucial that you open your listening to both, so to speak, poles of the same challenge. The same challenge is, stop living a rigid life being run by your head and by your mind and by your plans and start trusting into the day's energy and start listening into the waves of energy of a day. Sorry, I meant day. Trusting into the energies of the very day, etc. But if you only listen by sitting still and trying to hold your breath in order to not miss what life or the day wants you to get, then you freeze or you collapse in another pattern. And it just feels familiar to you because this is where you have been spending maybe most of your lifetime so far, because this is so familiar as the basic 24/7 collapse state of civilized cultures. If you open up to also the option, the possibility that this day is very wild and very dangerous and very risky and adventurous and challenging and demanding and very exhausting, maybe on a physical level, on an energetic level, then you open up to a passive listening that is all about being ready to jump in, being ready to jump into the flow with your inner wildness, with your inner untamed being, with the instincts of your nervous system that for sure long for more challenges. Because for our instincts, for our nervous system, it's super boring on one hand, living a normal adult life, maybe living in a city that's so domesticated, like no wild animal inside. Could anyone be interested in this situation? Yet all of us are this wild animal inside, and we are living in this situation. So you are underwhelmed by your burnout life, not overwhelmed. Or the sense of overwhelm is only the superficial layer, and the sense of underwhelm is what it comes down to when you really tap into your instincts. And if you tune into the challenge of, can I spend at least a minute longer in the state of flow by maybe dancing, by maybe breathing, and you open up to your body wanting to breathe deeply or wildly, or you want to dance in an angry way and not in a sensual way where you just connect to the beauty of whatever, but you are connecting to the inner fear and you are dancing that. You are connecting to the inner monster and you are expressing that. You are connecting to the inner hatred and ugliness and you express that in your dance. If you open up to those options that are more around physical activation and power and muscles and sense of a martial animalistic overwhelm, the intensity, the physical intensity of flow, then you might access the state of flow, of surrender, of beauty, of bliss way faster, or maybe even at all, instead of being still kind of trapped in the cultural pattern of everything is based on collapse. And as long as your flow is based on collapse, it's no flow at all, because flow, the state of flow, living in the zone, needs you as a fully embodied being, living being that has the courage and the capacity to really open up in all senses. So that is what I ask you to, or what I invite you, I ask you, that's my German English, sorry, I invite you to experiment with that and let me know in the comment section below, or send me some questions if you have further explorative questions around living in the flow and overcoming the cultural collapse, because I think the more of us are exiting the global and collective collapse, the more we feed also the collective nervous system with an information of this is how you can make it out of that, and this is how life around and inside benefits from living life without collapse, which is basically not missing life while you're alive. It's basically like the end of avoidance. And you are super welcome to join my free shaking events that are all about overcoming altogether collective collapse. Is completely free. You will just be sent the Zoom link if you register. So there is no string attached. And yeah, just thank you for participating in this adventure of aliveness. High fives and speak to you soon. Bye.